All right, hello everyone, I'm Bed. This is just a CS materials workshop, so we're going to be going over what the CS materials are, I guess what it looks like on the back end, so for example GitHub, and then I'll be going over just how GitHub works a little bit, so for example how pull requests work, and I'll be talking about basically just how to get set up with everything so you can start developing for Wiki Nights. All right, so if you don't know what the CS materials are, if you go to wikinights.com and scroll down to our library, Wikinights actually maintains a few, you can call them textbooks, but specifically today I'm going to be focusing on the Introduction to C Programming textbook. And if you click read here, you can see we have a nice resource, open educational resource for Intro to C at UCF basically. And I mean also for C, I guess. But if we take a look at some articles, for example, you can see how to use pointers. This was written by the one and only Jared. And you can see this is basically just, an example of pointers, how they work, dereferencing, I guess. But you might be like looking at these articles and saying, all right, how do I write these articles? Is it like some fancy HTML? Is it some like, do I have to know HTML, CSS? I'm here to tell you it's not that complicated. All you need to know is how to set up your development environment and how to do some markdown. So for instance, let's look at what the Wikinight CS materials look like from the back end. So let's open a new tab and let's go to github.com. So that's Wikinights. You can also access this by just clicking on view source, actually. So on the right, we have the CS materials on GitHub, right? And GitHub is basically just a way to, most people will use it to like store their code. Here at Wikinights, we actually use it to host the website as well. So for instance, I can show you an example of what we're looking at right here. So let's say we go into an article on the Wikinights page, right? And let's go to, say, Ray's introduction. And on the right here, all the magic basically happens in the source folder. If you want to edit things, it's probably going to be in the source folder unless you're editing some build script or something. But anyways, if you look at the URL here, we have intro to C, arrays intro, and then .html. But if we go on the GitHub, you'll see intro to C inside source, and then arrays, and then arrays intro.md, which is a markdown file. And if you look at the side-by-side here, it's basically the same content, and that's because it is the same content. Everything on the GitHub is compiled and put on the Wikinights page, I think through GitHub Actions, but all you need to do basically is just write the markdown, and also, obviously like have knowledge on what Intro to C is, I guess, and other computer science classes. But if you take a look at the code on GitHub, you'll see we have basically text. And I mean, I'm not saying that this is not just text either, but you'll see here, everything on this page can be represented on this page as well through like, I guess, plain text. A header here, for example, creating arrays is denoted with 2 hashtags. Creating arrays, a code block here is denoted with, I forgot what these things are called. Backticks? Yeah, backticks. So, and then C, and then, that's right here. It's just Markdown. There's a lot of resources on Markdown either way. Now that we've looked at what CS materials looks like on the back end, I guess, now it's time to talk about how to contribute to Wikinights, the CS materials, I mean. So let's close these. So I think I made an announcement for this, but you'll need basically 3 things. You'll need GitHub Desktop. Technically, you can use like the Git command line, but for this, I'm just going to assume that, you're using GitHub Desktop. I think it's the easiest to use anyways. And Docker Desktop, that's just so we can run the container that will basically host the local server that will basically show us our changes live, well, as long as you refresh, and an IDE like VS Code. So for Visual Studio Code, I think VS Code, it's, you can just click download. You'll find it here for your respective OS. For Docker Desktop, you can just look up Docker Desktop. download. I think I did mention this, but you do need to have virtualization enabled in your BIOS. I think I left a link on that, but that's just one of the little things you need to do. And for example, GitHub Desktop, which is just right here. So I'm going to assume you have all those downloaded, because if not, then it's going to take a little bit too much time to download. But anyways, so once you download all of that, let's go back to the GitHub for Wiki Nights CS materials. Now, what we want to do is we want to have everything on this page. We want to have basically this repository locally on our computer so we can make changes and hopefully upload them to another branch. And what do I mean by branch? Well, the way we basically want to make changes, at least for the CS materials, is we want to make sure we don't want people to just contribute directly to the main repository, right? Because then people could vandalize it and then it'll get uploaded on the main page. So what we want to do actually instead is we want people to make their own branch, right? We want people to make their own branch, commit to that branch, and then eventually everything that you do on that branch, we will want to merge it into the main branch. So for now, I'm just going to talk about how to clone the repository. So if you go on GitHub and then click on code and then clone, you'll copy the link, and then let's open, oops, let me close this. Let's open GitHub Desktop. And I think by default, it's going to show that if you just installed it, it's going to show that you have to log in. But for example, if you just click on File and then Clone Repository URL and just paste into here, I actually have I already have the, what do you call it? I already have the thing cloned here, but I'm just going to delete it just to show you what it looks like. Delete. Let's try that again. Clone and paste. Oh, so let me just copy that. All right, and you just click on clone, and it's just going to download, or I guess clone the repository to your computer. All right, so now we have the repository cloned on our computer. If we click on Show Explorer, for example, you'll see it's saved locally on our computer. And we basically, if you take a look at the side-by-side for this, we basically have the same thing, right? That's what cloning is. But like I said before, we want to make our changes on a different branch because we don't want people to just vandalize the main branch. So let's say for example, you're going to we'll just make a new branch, for example, called, and you can do that by going into current branch, new branch, and we're just going to call it testing. Cool testing. Great branch. That's cool. All right. So now we're on a different branch now, cool testing, and let's open it in VS Code, which this is handy. We can open the repository in VS Code, and just to make sure, if you look on the bottom, you'll see we're on the cool testing branch. And let's actually talk about how to contribute, right? How to basically write the materials. So you remember before I talked about Docker, and we're basically just going to use Docker because before Docker, we basically had everyone download a bunch of different tools, and depending on what OS you have, it might be different. If you had Ubuntu, it would download a really outdated version of whatever. So instead, we use Docker basically to make sure everyone has the same tools to be able to just locally compile and view the CS materials, right? So if you take a look at the docker.md file, this actually has very nice information on how to set up the Docker. So I'll just use that. So basically, the first thing you want to do is you want to go back into the folder where the CS materials are. So I'm just going to do that by just revealing it in File Explorer. You see the Docker, and you want to open in terminal, or you can open a terminal. You can also do this from VS Code too, just make sure you're in the Docker folder. And Okay, another thing we have to do actually is open Docker Desktop, right? Just wait for that to do that. I think by default it'll ask you to like log in or something. You can skip that and even log in, but all right. So there we go. We have engine is running. So see right here, Docker Desktop is running. Now, all right. So next thing you want to do is you want to just make sure you have Docker installed. So if you type in Docker in your terminal and you get, a bunch of Docker stuff, then okay, you probably have Docker installed. So now let's run the command that we're given, docker compose up build. And what that's going to do is just going to run the Docker file, which is basically just saying like, all right, set up an Alpine Linux distribution, install these things, tools, I guess, and then run the server script. You don't need to worry about that, but basically it worky, right? So right now it's compiling all the files, and now it's done. Okay, that's quick. So basically what the Docker container does is it will, every 5 seconds, it will check for any changes made in basically the entire repository. And if it notices any changes to like a markdown file, it will recompile it, and then you'll be able to view that, right? So how do we view our local changes? So if you look here, we'll see we get a local server at localhost at port 8080. So if we put that into our thing, our URL bar, sorry, you'll see we get basically an identical version of the Intro to C wiki, just literally identical, because it pretty much is identical right now. So let's change that by actually making a new file, right? So like I said before, all the magic happens in the source folder, src, and depending on what class you're in, I guess, we're just going to contribute something to Intro to C. So let's say we want to make a new article in arrays, right? And we're going to call it cool arrays. This is my new article on cooler arrays. I don't even know what that means, but anyways. So again, I'm not going to go too in depth about what Markdown is, but just to get like a little basic stuff down, I'm just going to have another article here so I can just basically look at it. But anyway, so all things, in or I guess specifically for the CS materials, we have a, title, author. So for example, we'll just make a title, cool smiley face, and we'll have an author, which is you, right? So save that. Now, another thing is you won't be able to look at this right now. Well, you can actually if you follow the document structure into here, but what we need to do first is we actually need to add this to the index.markdown file, which is basically this page, right? If you follow the thing again, this is in the Intro to C page, so Intro to C index. So let's just add our article to the index page, right? So let's just call it cool smiley face, and then I think it's an arrays. All right, there you go, cool arrays.md. Save that, and if we take a look at Docker, it'll be like, oh, saw a change, compiles it. So if we refresh this index page and scroll all the way down, we have cool. Now we have cool smiley face by you. That's cool, right? And we can just add some text like hi smiley face, and then put some code in here, I guess. Print f hi, and new line, and it'll be as long as you wait 5 seconds, wait for that, boom, and also save the file. But we'll see it's all being recompiled and into this local server basically. So let's say that you're completely done with this article, right? This is a really beautiful article. You have cool, hi, printf, and then hi, right? Okay, we're done, right? Of course not really, but what I'm going to talk about now is how basically to like commit your code, and I think we're going to demonstrate, hopefully if you have time, how pull requests work basically, right? So let's go back into GitHub Desktop. You'll see we have all our changes here. We have changes to index.md. That's just adding the title, I guess, to the index page, and we also have cool arrays, right? So all right, so let's say here on the bottom left, you'll see like summary required. So this is just gonna, usually you want this to be informative, so you'll be like, all right, commit the cool arrays page, smiley face. Okay, maybe not the smiley face. I mean, maybe you can, I don't know, who knows? But, and you just want this to be descriptive, talking exactly what you did. If you're actually writing something, for example, you could be like, oh, I added, like a picture or something, but all right, so let's commit to cool testing. Right, so now we just committed right now this is all local, so we actually committed locally to our machine basically that's just going to host our change, right? And this is because the way Git works is we're actually just committing, I guess you can kind of call it like a linked list of changes. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
I'm getting too much.
Yeah. But so yeah, we're just basically like handling a bunch of changes incrementally. So just in case you maybe like you want to look back at something, that's how that works basically. But you can just keep committing to your local machine for now, and then if you want to actually publish, you can later. But for now, we're just going to actually publish this. Just because I want to demonstrate what like merge request looks like and what it looks like on GitHub basically. So let's say you're done with like all your commits, right? So you can publish the branch by clicking on publish branch. Hopefully this works. This is going to ping everyone. I'm sorry about that. So you can see, all right, we can preview the pull request, but I'll go into here for now. Okay, cool testing had recent pushes 5 seconds ago. That's cool. So if we go here, you'll see we have a new branch called cool testing, right? And you'll see this branch is one commit ahead of main. What is that commit? That commit is our cool arrays markdown page and our index being updated. So let's say you are like I said before, let's say you're fully done. So what we want to do basically is once we're done. Well, I'll just click on the pull request first. Oops, actually let's do this. So let's go to pull request and new pull request, and let's say that we want to put our cool testing branch and we want to merge everything in that branch into main, right? So let's create a new pull request and call it merging the cool arrays branch into the main branch. Smiley face. Lots of smiley faces going on, but of course you want to probably have a nice description here. Hi, great pull request. Right. All right. Again, that's just going to ping everybody. But so we're here now. Let's say that, all right. So the way that pull requests work is we basically want to have someone review our pull request so that they can like look at the content. Let's get this merged. They want to look at the content and they want to be like, okay, this looks good, or maybe it's not good. Sometimes that happens, but and you want to like a little back and forth sometimes, but
You actually want to show the other one as an example?
I was gonna actually do one live, and then I was gonna do that. So that's what I was asking Carson. But yeah, so let's say we want a reviewer. So let's get Carson up in here. Carson, you ready?
I have.
You're locked in. All right, there you go. Carson's locked in. So I just requested a review from Carson, right? All right, let's say, all right, so I'm on Carson's computer right now. You can't really see this. I think maybe I can.
It's streamed to Discord.
Wait, actually, I can probably do this. So, all right. So this is what Carson's seeing right now. I'm trying to mirror it right now, but he's probably going to click on, like, for example, review changes and be like, all right, approve. You can say what you want. I don't know. So he's doing this right now and typing in like blah 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 whatever. But right, and then
Scenario
yeah.
review?
Scenario review. He just approved it. All right, so let's go back. Refresh. All right. So Carson loves what we're seeing. He loves the smiley faces. And as you can see right now, this is looking like it's being able. We can merge this. I'm not going to actually merge this because then it will update the Wiki Nice page. Oh, I just got a cool email. But yeah.
Hello.
But yeah, basically, what the pull request system does is we just basically make sure that people can look at your changes, sign off on them basically, and have like a conversation between like maybe you should change this, maybe you could look at this, but that's basically how this works. And then once you're done, you can rebase and merge, and it'll work. But let's look at a previous example. I guess I'll look at the introduction to arrays one. This is one that a review I requested from Jarrett, and he had lots of good information. For example, this one, but you can see this is a pull request so that we can take something from arrays into main, right? And this is a tutorial on arrays. Let us know if you can include anything. And I assigned Jarrett to look at it, and Jarrett looks at it. I had some things I could change. So let's, for example, look at. I remember there was one change. I guess let's see. So you can see when he made the comment that maybe you should, for example, change the indexes so that it actually shows the indexes. For example, if we go here, you can see I made a change afterwards, changing all the array boxes into to show the indexes. And you can see there's some back and forth, and eventually we got a nice work, and we got a merged branch, right? So another thing is we can look at, for example, this is mostly about just CS materials. So if you're looking into like wanting to contribute, right, and you want to know what should we, or what should I like talk about basically. Well, I think it's here. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to demonstrate that again. So if we go into projects on the top and, CS materials, we have a nice Kanban board, which is basically just, I guess a board just that has like all the current issues and like other like topics being discussed right now. So for example, this actually, I should probably assign this a label like, let's see, our status. All right, in progress. There we go. So if we put that on in progress, you can see we go here. We have in progress, and there's some I guess articles that are in progress right now. So for example, the one we just made, merging the cool arrays branch into the main branch, is now in progress. And you can see there's also this issue here that's pinned, add more materials. And if we look at it, you'll see we have a bunch of material that still needs to be added, especially for CS1. If you're really good at CS1, that would be great if you can write articles for it. But even for Intro to C, we have a few things like, for example, using scanf, fgets, a tutorial on functions. I think these are done. Can I like click that? Oh, I didn't even know that works, but okay. But yeah, these are just like issues. Is there always an issue being made for like a new article? Because I thought we just usually have a pull request, but I guess there's one for 2D arrays.
Yeah. Generally, I know the people online might not be able to hear me.
I think they can hear you.
Okay. I'll speak up a little bit, just for the Discord people. Generally, you'd have an issue that corresponds to what thing you're going to be doing. So like it's like a question out into the world. I want this thing being made. That's the issue. and then a pull request would resolve the issue. So they kind of come in a pair. So the idea is that the pull request is a change to the code base that is effectively resolving whatever issue it is. In this case, just because we have so many topics, we generally just have one giant issue that has the list of everything, and then as you make stuff, you might make an issue for that specific topic, just because it's expanding as we go. But that's all I had to add on that.
Right. So other than that, I mean, it's pretty much all I had. I mean, if any of you guys have questions on like GitHub, maybe like how it works, I guess I could do like Markdown, but like we're almost at 30 minutes. But
No, I mean, if you feel like you could, like people would benefit from Markdown, I would totally encourage you. We have this room to like what 8:30, like you're fine.
Do you guys have any questions so far? I know it's a lot of stuff, a lot of topics.
Yeah.
I could talk a little bit about Markdown, I guess. I mean,
Should be a page on Wiki. Oh, there's the sample thing.
left.
That was us.
Oh, okay. Is there a sample one?
It's in Docs.
Oh, yeah. Sample file. Here we go. Yep. Old McDonald and Ash Ketchum. Wow. Okay, that's cool.
I had a good time.
Oh, you were having fun reading this. Hey,
Hey,
yo.
This is
Okay.
basically a document. No, I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, so this is just like, so this is just getting into Markdown, but this is basically just a sample document on how to write Markdown. So I assume it has like most of like the things you can do in Markdown in what do you call it? I guess in this text file. I wonder if we can like can I like put this into the thing and compile it and see what it looks like. All right, so let's take a look at what that example Markdown file looks like. Oh, again, check if you're trying to see if you're on the if you can't see your changes, make sure you're on the local host instead of the actual website. But all right, let's look at cool. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, this is the example document. So I guess I can just go over a little bit about how Markdown works. So for example, let's see. So we have the title document, and these are comments basically. So they're not going to show up, like comments in C or something. And we have headers here. So basic formatting. This is the biggest header. Depending on how many hashtags are here, it'll get smaller. So put 3, and wait for it to recompile. There we go. See, it gets smaller. This is just a bunch of it says right there, we have bold text, italic text, bold and italic. It uses these stars and I guess underscores to strike through, Yeah, I guess you can also put in HTML tags. I think I use some of those a little bit, but I don't know if that is whatever. But block quotes. I mean, I guess you can just take a look at this. I don't really have much to add. This is a very good document on its own. Here's a terminal block. Oh, terminal. Dang, that's cool. But yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to add. I guess that's kind of it. If you guys have no other questions, on anything, anything, GitHub, I guess that's just about it. Oh, what? I guess I should also talk about how to close Docker. You just hit Control-C.
Still working on it?
Still.
I have one question.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
If our computer or laptop is not able to run Docker at all, are we kind of just not able to make any edits? If
No, you don't. So Docker isn't strict. The container isn't strictly necessary. It's really just there so you can like look at the preview easily. Actually, there is a way to just view what the files look like. Like you can compile them yourself. It's a little complicated, but like
Shows the VS Code preview.
yeah, I guess you can do that. Yeah, so VS Code does have like a nice preview. Like on the top right, we have like open preview to side, and you get like a basic preview of what it looks like. It's not going to be exact, you know. Like I think some things aren't. Yeah, like this table is kind of messed up, but like for the most part, it mostly works. But you could also compile the Markdown yourself. Like you don't need to use the Docker container, but it just makes it a lot easier to like gather all the tools and you know like be able to compile everything. I think there used to be how to use the like wasn't there an old article on how to compile the documents, I think, in the wiki?
Yeah, it's still in there. I'm operating.
Yeah, operating the build script. Like
It's not updated with the build all, but the everyone else.
well, yeah. But basically what I'm trying to say is you don't have to use Docker, but it just makes it a lot like easier. Like are you trying to install Docker right now and it doesn't work, or
No, I just think on my laptop, it's like a kind of a smaller laptop, so I don't know if it has it available to me. So I was just wondering. It's okay.
I would just say overall about the project. First of all, I want to thank Bed for this great workshop. This project has been many years in the making. The idea is that when I started as a TA for Intro to C back in the Stone Age, students always came to me asking, you know, how can I find more materials? Like, what resources can I use? And the problem that we had is that C is a very old language, you know, probably about 30, 40, 50 years at this point. So there's a lot of different explanations about the exact same thing, and not all of it is relevant to our specific CS program and the way that we teach C programming. We teach it different from other universities, the way they teach it. Some of them make their own libraries specific for printing and scanning, for example, just to take away a lot of unnecessary parts of. Anyways, so students came to us and asking lots of questions about how can I write this, or how can I get more resources, and so that's when we started making these practice problems. It really just started as us copy pasting stuff into web courses, and eventually it branched out to this big project. So I mean, it's really like people like you, Bed, and Carson, and just lots of other people that have helped over the years. That you know we've just kind of made this really cool resource, and people have come in there and said, "This is great. This has helped us a ton." And slowly, the hope is that as you know, maybe there's more interest and people want to keep building on it, that we can eventually basically just recreate all of the core curriculum that our CS program uses, and we could just tell all of the faculty to use that instead of having to pay for any textbooks. That's the dream. That's the goal. We're still a long way, I think, to getting there, but it really is a huge collective effort. It's anything that you guys can do to help is a big deal. Not only for this, but it also helps your resume. You would believe how many people don't know how to use Git in the real world. So it helps a ton. Yeah. Not without getting too sappy, but it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing we're doing.
True. Yeah. And also, I would also add on just generally knowing how to, you know, contribute to a project. And like, I didn't know, I know I didn't know very much about GitHub before, like working on this and some like other classes and whatnot. I think it genuinely is helpful for experience in the real world, and, like collaborating with others and like branching in pull requests and all that nonsense to try and, I don't know, make something real. So,
yeah. That board that you saw, that Kanban board, that's an industry standard thing that exists. It's a whole framework you can look up. It's called Agile. You may or may not learn about it when you take processes for object-oriented programming. The idea is that in the real world, people need to structure how their projects work. You know, people just can't do everything all willy-nilly. So that is one system of organizing stuff to do. And so we try to emulate that. with our boards and our Discord servers, so you can chat, all that stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and again, if you have like any content, I guess if you look at the add more material page, we have a lot of blank spaces for CS1 and even for Intro to C. So if you have any interest in like teaching people, it'd be great if you can help us out a little bit, But yeah, again, I think we're like pretty much done. Whoever just joined, by the way, like I'm sorry, bro, but like you kind of joined at the end.
You kind of joined a little late.
I guess it'll be recorded, but